You want to learn how to do real estate photos? Are you a real estate agent or you're a photographer that wants to get into real estate? Since the beginning of the year, I've been taking on real estate projects, whether that be video and photography, and I've learned a few things along the way. When I started doing it, I didn't find too many videos on how to do it, so I decided to do a video for you guys to show you some tips and tricks on how to get the best photo. Let me tell you, it doesn't take that much equipment. All I have is a Canon mirrorless, a wide angle lens, a nice tripod, and pretty much you're good to go. You don't need any fancy flashes, you don't need reflectors, all these things that a lot of people tell you at times that you need. I've never had any one of my clients complain about the fact that I don't use a flash or lighting or anything like that. Quite the opposite. I've had quite a few clients tell me that the photos that I've done ended up selling the house. I shot a house today, and as I was taking pictures of the kitchen, I thought, why not make a video of teaching people how to do this? And it's what I love to do. So hope you guys enjoy it. Here it is.
So we have this beautiful kitchen here. I'm gonna show you guys how to shoot this kitchen, and the rules that you take for this kitchen, you can apply it to every single area of the house. They're simple rules, they're easy to do. Let's get it started, so here we go. First thing that we have to do is to make sure that all the lights are on, because we wanna be able to get as much light for the camera as possible. Last thing you wanna do is take pictures of a dark room. It's just not nice. We want people to see what the house is gonna look like when they're here, as if they were here. Second thing you're gonna need to do is scope the room. Make sure that there is no trash cans. Make sure that there's nothing out of place, nothing that seems odd. You wanna make sure that what's in the picture is gonna look as best as possible, because what's in the picture is what makes the picture. Not so much as what you use to take the picture with, but what's gonna be in the picture and what's gonna sell the house. This kitchen is pretty clean. There's really nothing out here because they pretty much clean out the whole home. But for instance, this hand sanitizer is really bothering me because it's the only thing that's gonna be in the picture. Second thing we see here is, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna make sure that that's not in the picture. It looks like I can't really remove that, but we gotta make sure that's gonna be out of the picture. I'll Photoshop it afterwards. So I'm just gonna throw this over here. I'm gonna go back, and here is the second part. Okay, so second thing, you wanna make sure that you got yourself a wide angle lens on your camera. Make sure that you got a wide aperture so you can get as much light as possible. And you got a sharp lens on there because you wanna make sure that everything in the room is showing. So here we have a Tokina 11-16 on my Canon mirrorless, and you see that's getting as much of the picture as possible. When I close in, it's only gonna get the stove. So you wanna make sure you're wide open with that lens. I'm right at 11 millimeters. So then after that, what you gotta do is you actually gotta put your f-stop all the way up to from 5.6 to 8. F8 is what I like to do. Make sure I got zone focusing on so I can get that big square in the middle. That middle is gonna be the center of the focus in the picture. And with the f5.6, it's gonna get the most of the room. So you got the 11 millimeters wide angle lens. You got the f-stop all the way up so you get the majority of the room in focus. Make sure that you're not bumping up the ISO a whole lot. This is gonna make the picture grainy. And then we're gonna do exposure bracketing, which I'm gonna show you guys how to do. So exposure bracketing is pretty much, you're gonna wanna get 3 different pictures at 3 different exposures. And I don't go by the number of the shutter speed. I always go by the histogram here. And so usually what I want to do is I want to get a picture with the highlights blown out, because when the highlights are blown out, there's no lack of details in the shadows in the picture. Second thing I'll do is, as I bump up the shutter speed, it's going to get into the perfect exposed picture right here. It's going to look like a little mountain in your histogram. And then the third picture I'll get is with all the shadows blown out. What this is going to do for us is going to do details in the highlights. So there's no highlights without any details. Since we're blowing out the highlights in that first exposure shot, we're going to make sure we get the highlights back in this third shot where all the shadows are blown out of the picture. There's no details in the shadows, but we have lots of details in the highlights. So everything through the windows outside, even though there's snow everywhere, even though it's sunny out, it's gonna get the details in the highlights. Third thing you wanna do too is you wanna make sure that you are taking pictures from the corner of the room. So usually what I do is I take pictures from every single corner that I have access to in the room. So then you're getting multiple different angles of the room. Make sure that if someone was to stand anywhere in this house, they would have a shot to look at. Also, the other thing you guys want to make sure you're doing is you want to make sure that everything is aligned in the picture. So I'll set the perfect exposure here so you guys can see what the picture looks like on the camera view. But I always use the electronic level on the camera, make sure the picture is leveled, and I always use a grid. So what that does for me is make sure that the picture is aligned. You don't want crooked lines on your picture, guys. You want to make sure, for instance, I use the grid to align the cabinets, and so you'll see that the cabinets are vertically aligned with the grid, and then I make sure that the level is keeping that picture straight. The other thing that I do is you can see that I'm straight on with the sink here. I always get a close-up shot of some kind of detail of the home. You always want to have a variety of shots. You want people to, get a little bit of a difference when they're scrolling through, so they're not just getting a bunch of wide angle shots. So once in a while, when I see something nice in the kitchen or somewhere else in the house that looks nice, I want to take a picture of it close up so I can throw it in there. And you can see that I'm going to zoom into 16 here, so we're not super closed, but not super tight, but we're getting a close-up nice shot of that sink right there, and that's going to look nice for that extra shot in detail in the kitchen. It will look appealing to whoever's scrolling through. All right, so I finished up the kitchen, guys. It's really simple. You guys saw that it didn't take very long. There's just a few minor details that you need to pay attention to. Make sure that you get your line straight in the picture. That's really important. Make sure that your exposure bracketing, and make sure that you got that wide angle of the picture and that the room is clean. There's nothing that's gonna look bad in the picture. Make sure that you take it out, take the extra time. Let me tell you, it'll look really different in that final picture. So make sure you're paying attention to that. I'm gonna finish up this house. I don't have time to show you guys all the room. I got a busy day, but thank you for listening. If you guys got any questions, leave a comment. Let me know if you got any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember, Dreamer Digital, tell us your dream.